My friend, let me start by telling you a truth that reaches to the depths of your soul. You were not born to live defeated. You were not created to be crushed under fear, failure, or doubt. You were not placed on this earth to survive on fragments of joy or beg for moments of peace. You were formed by the hand of God Himself, shaped in silence by the Almighty, who spoke purpose, vision, and destiny into dust and brought you to life. And when God formed you, He placed within you a seed of success. Not the kind the world applauds, but the kind no man, no demon, and no circumstance can take from you. A success born from obedience. A success that flows from surrender. A success that rises when a soul aligns fully, boldly, and faithfully with the will of God. If you are searching for the key to attracting success, hear this clearly. Success is not found by striving harder. It is found by trusting deeper. The world will tell you to hustle, to grind, to outwork everyone around you. Discipline has its place, but let this truth settle in your spirit. Success begins on your knees. Success is drawn to surrender. Success follows the soul that refuses to move without God's direction. You want to attract success? Then examine the soil of your life. Because God will not plant greatness in ground that has not been prepared. You must cleanse your heart, purify your intentions, rid yourself of bitterness, envy, pride, and fear. These are weeds that choke the seeds of God's favor. You can't harbor jealousy and expect peace. You can't curse others and expect blessing. You can't live two-faced and expect God to honor your part. God does not bless pretenders. He blesses the pure in heart, those who are real, honest, broken before Him. Listen closely. The power to succeed is not in what you do, but in who you become under the weight of God's presence. When you begin to hunger for righteousness more than riches, when you long for purpose more than platforms, when you seek the face of God more than the praise of men, then success will chase you down. Doors will open that no man can shut. Opportunities will emerge in places others gave up on. You won't have to fight for attention, because God will highlight your name in the places it matters most. But you cannot attract what you secretly despise. Some of you are asking for success while speaking failure. You say you want to rise, but you live like you're meant to be buried. You speak against yourself. You doubt your calling. You shrink in fear when God calls you forward. Let me tell you, if you continue to speak death over your own life, don't be surprised when it shows up at your door. There is power in the words you speak. And the first sign of someone walking with God is not just clean hands, but a clean mouth. Stop calling yourself unworthy when God calls you chosen. Stop saying you'll never make it when God has already paved the way. Stop looking at your past like it's a prison when God has already turned the key. You want to attract success? Then start aligning your language with God's promises. Speak what He says. Declare what He's written. Stand in the truth even when the facts around you scream failure. Now let me go deeper. Success is not attracted to the lazy. The world may reward shortcuts, but God honors diligence. Not busy, but spiritual diligence. Wake up and seek God. Open your day with gratitude. Carry yourself like someone sent by heaven. Make excellence your standard. Not to impress man, but to reflect the glory of God who lives in you. Clean your room. Show up early. Speak with integrity. Do the hidden work, because God blesses what is done in secret long before He reveals it in public. Too many want a throne without carrying the towel. They want spotlight but despise preparation. They crave applause but run from correction. Let me remind you, God cannot anoint what your pride refuses to surrender. Until you are willing to humble yourself and be taught, you will attract confusion instead of clarity. You will draw drama instead of direction, because pride attracts destruction, but humility attracts success. Success also comes to those who learn to wait. Oh, this is where many fall short. You see others rising. You hear their names celebrated. You watch them thrive while you still struggle. But don't be deceived. Sometimes God hides your greatness so He can build your character. Sometimes He withholds the stage so He can strengthen your spirit. Because the worst thing is to be elevated before you're ready. Success is heavy, and God will not allow it to crush you. So He delays not to deny you, but to develop you. You want to attract success? Then rejoice even when you are not seen. Celebrate even when no one claps. Obey even when no one watches. That's when God smiles. That's when the heavens open. That's when favor finds you, not in the spotlight, but in the quiet places where your heart is tested. Let me speak to the soul that feels forgotten. The one who gave and gave but received nothing in return. Hear me. God has not overlooked your faithfulness. He has not ignored your silent prayers or your tears that soaked the pillow in the night. He saw when you helped others while needing help yourself. He saw when you kept smiling while carrying wounds. And in due time, oh yes, in His perfect time, He will elevate you. Not because of connections, but because of covenant. Not because of influence, but because of intimacy with Him. Let me remind you, success is spiritual warfare. The enemy doesn't fight those who are already bound. He fights those who are about to break through. That's why your journey has been hard. That's why the betrayal came. That's why the attack increased when you made up your mind to walk with God. But listen, to mere resistance is proof of your assignment. The enemy wouldn't bother you if your future didn't scare him. So stand firm. Keep pressing. Keep believing. Your pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Stop trying to be like everyone else. Success is attracted to those who are authentically obedient to God, not cheap copies of culture. You were not born to blend in. You were born to stand out, not by being loud, but by being anchored in truth. God did not call you to be trendy. He called you to be timeless. He called you to walk with holiness, courage, and conviction. And when you live like that, you attract what money can't buy: peace, favor, access, and divine alignment. And let me tell you this, you must protect your circle, because not everyone can go where God is taking you. Some people were sent to distract you, not develop you. Some friends are really enemies in disguise. If you want success, you must learn to walk away from noise, disconnect from gossip, delete the numbers that pull you into darkness, let go of connections that cause you to compromise. God won't bless what you're too afraid to release. The road to true success is lonely sometimes. But hear this, you are never alone when you walk with God. He will be your strength when you're weak, your defender when you're attacked, your counselor when you're confused, your provider when you're in lack. You may lose people, but you will gain purpose. You may be misunderstood, but you will be known by God. And that, my friend, is success in its highest form. To be known, led, and sustained by the one who created the heavens and the earth. Refuse to compromise your values just to fit in. You don't have to lie, cheat, or manipulate to succeed. If you must betray your character to win, then what you gained was never from God. Real success requires righteousness, and righteousness requires sacrifice. You may lose temporary comfort, but you will gain eternal reward. You may miss some opportunities, but you will attract the right ones, the ones designed for your destiny, not your ego. Let me speak into your spirit. God wants you to succeed. He takes no pleasure in your defeat, but He will not let success destroy you. So He waits until your hands are clean. He waits until your spirit is stable. He waits until your motives are pure. Because when He blesses you, He wants you to keep it. And what God gives, no man can take. What God ordains, no enemy can cancel. So stop chasing success and start chasing obedience. Wake up and ask God, what do you want me to do today? And then do it. With passion, with excellence, with faith. Do it even if no one sees. Do it even if it scares you. Do it even if it stretches you. Because every step of obedience is a magnet for favor. Every act of obedience draws success toward your life. Hear me well. Success is not a place, it is a posture. A posture of humility. A posture of gratitude. A posture of worship. A posture of trust. When you posture your life before God, He positions your life before kings. He places you in rooms you didn't qualify for. He gives you influence you never asked for. He turns your private preparation into public promotion. And let me say this loud and clear. God wants your soul to prosper before your name does. If your platform is bigger than your character, it will collapse. If your image is greater than your integrity, it will fade. But if your soul is anchored in truth, if your life is rooted in faith, if your mind is stayed on God, then no wind can move you and no enemy can break you. That is success. So now, right where you are, stop looking for success in man. Stop chasing what the world calls making it. Real success is walking in alignment with God's will. It's hearing His voice and obeying without delay. It's being bold when others are silent. It's being still when others are anxious. It's rising when others give up. It's forgiving when you want revenge. It's being faithful when nothing makes sense. You attract success when you stop making fear your God. Too many have let anxiety rule their decisions. But fear is a liar. Fear is not from God. If you are waiting to feel brave before you obey, you'll wait forever. Courage is not the absence of fear. Is obedience in the face of fear. It is saying, God, I don't understand, but I trust you anyway. That's the kind of faith that pulls heaven into your situation. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains, opens doors, parts waters, and makes a way where there was no way. If you want to attract success, you must let go of the past. God cannot fill a hand that is still holding yesterday's pain. Release the guilt. Let go of the shame. Stop rehearsing what they did. Stop replaying what you lost. What's behind you is over, but what's ahead of you is full of promise. Lift your eyes. Open your heart. Get ready, because when you let go of the ashes, God will crown you with beauty. And remember, Success is not instant. There is no microwave miracle. God works in seasons. Some seasons are for planting, others are for pruning, some are for preparation. And then, when the time is right, comes the harvest. Don't give up in the waiting. Don't abort the process. Trust the timing, because when God moves, He moves suddenly. What took years to build in silence will be revealed in moments. What was hard will become easy. What was blocked will break open. What was delayed will accelerate. Let me take you deeper into this divine truth. Success is not found in the clapping of hands, but in the quiet approval of God. If God is pleased, then you have already succeeded. If His presence surrounds you, then no crown, no title, no position, and no applause can compare. People chase validation, not knowing that the most powerful validation comes from the one who sees in secret and rewards openly. Stop asking the world to clap for what God already called good. The favor of God outweighs the approval of man 1,000 times over. God's yes is all you need to rise. Let me tell you something that will separate the average from the anointed. You must learn to be led by conviction, not by convenience. Success is not found in comfort zones. Success is born in the fire of testing, in the furnace of discipline, in the lonely nights of obedience, when your flesh says no, but your spirit says yes to God. That's when heaven takes notice. That's when the unseen realm begins to shift. That's when the seeds of success begin to grow under the soil of your sacrifice. You cannot be casual about your calling and expect to walk in divine greatness. You must be fierce, focused, fixed on God like a lion, fixed on its prey. Listen carefully. True success begins when you conquer yourself. It's not your enemies that are holding you back. It's your own lack of discipline. It's your excuses, your distractions, your desire for ease over elevation. God cannot bless who you pretend to be. He blesses the real you. The version of you that wakes up early to seek His voice. The version of you that says no to temptation when nobody is watching. The version of you that still praises Him when the storm rages and nothing makes sense. That version, that surrendered, sanctified, spiritual virginess who God pours success into. And know this, success requires vision. Not the kind you see with your eyes, but the kind that burns in your spirit. If you cannot see it in your soul, you will never hold it in your hand. Vision is the divine picture God paints on the walls of your heart, and it gives you direction when the path is dark. When you walk with God, He gives you dreams bigger than your environment. He gives you hope stronger than your past. He gives you insight that cuts through confusion. But you must protect your vision. You must guard it from doubters, dream killers, and the noise of the world. Keep your focus on what God whispered, even when it hasn't shown up yet, because what He promised, He will perform. Let me speak this with fire. You must learn to walk by faith and not by sight. Sight will deceive you. Sight will say there's no way. Faith will say God will make a way. Sight will show you obstacles. Faith will remind you of the one who speaks and mountains move. Sight will make you feel small. Faith will tell you that you are walking with the God who holds galaxies in His hand. And when you live by faith, you begin to attract miracles. You begin to draw breakthroughs. You begin to walk in rooms where your resume doesn't qualify you, but your obedience does. There is a power that comes when a person decides, I will not live by fear anymore. Fear paralyzes potential. Fear kills dreams before they're even born. But when you rise and say, "I trust God with everything I am," you attract a realm of success that no school, no money, no man can offer. That success is divine. That success is holy. That success sets you apart. That success makes you a magnet for resources, for revelation, for righteousness. Because faith attracts the power of God like lightning to a mountaintop. But hear me, success also demands separation. You must learn to walk alone before you can walk in abundance. There are some heights you cannot reach with crowds around you. You must get away from those who drain your energy, distort your vision, and disrespect your calling. Stop trying to explain your growth to those who are committed to staying small. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need approval to obey. When God calls you higher, He often calls you away. Away from noise, away from compromise, away from distraction. And it is in that holy place of separation that your next level is born. Don't forget, success begins in the mind. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. If you think small, you will live small. If you think defeated, you will attract defeat. But when your mind is saturated with the promises of God, when your thoughts are filtered through His truth, then success is not just possible, it becomes inevitable. Renew your mind daily. Feed your spirit more than your flesh. Starve the lies. Feast on faith. Think like someone chosen. Think like someone appointed. Because you cannot live beyond your thoughts. And let me touch on something crucial. Gratitude is a magnet for success. When you are thankful in the wilderness, you attract the breakthrough. When you praise God in lack, you open the windows of abundance. Gratitude is not just polite, it is prophetic. It declares, "I trust God's hand even when I don't see His plan." And that trust moves mountains. That trust opens rivers in deserts. That trust confuses the enemy and empowers your soul. Be grateful even now. Be grateful in the waiting. Be grateful in the stretching, because success follows those who carry gratitude like a crown. Now lean in even more. As success does not mean everything will be easy. In fact, the closer you walk with God, the greater the battle. But the battle is not the absence of success. It is the sign of it. It's proof you are threatening darkness. It's evidence that you carry something valuable. You don't get attacked for being empty. You get attacked because you carry divine oil. So stop crying over the fight and start praising God for the fire. It's refining you. It's sharpening you. It's preparing you. You are not breaking. You are becoming. And never forget, every success story built on God's foundation begins with obedience. Radical, irrational, inconvenient obedience. The kind of obedience that doesn't wait for understanding, but moves at the sound of God's whisper. When you obey without delay, you access what others only dream of. When you obey even when it's costly, you unlock provision, protection, and power that cannot be explained. Obedience is the bridge between the promise and the manifestation. If you walk in it, success will find you even in the most unlikely places. God is not looking for the most talented. He is looking for the most surrendered. He is not impressed by your gift. He is moved by your submission. When you lay down your plans, your timing, your pride, your pain, and say, "God, your will be done," you begin to walk in a realm of success that shakes nations. People will wonder how you got there. They won't see the nights you cried, the days you fasted, the prayers you whispered, the temptations you conquered, the storms you survived. But God saw, and He rewards in public what you endured in private. You want success? Then become a vessel God can trust, a vessel that will not crack under pressure, a vessel that does not leak through compromise, a vessel that pours out what it has received. Because God does not bless you just for you. He blesses you to be a blessing. When success flows through you, not just to you, God keeps refilling. But when you hoard the blessing, it dries up. Be generous, be kind, be a light, and you'll find that success follows those who give more than they take. Let me tell you plainly, success without God is a curse. You may have fame but no rest, wealth but no peace, applause but no joy. Don't envy the godless who rise fast. They often fall just as quickly. But when God builds you, He builds you to last. When He promotes you, no man can demote you. When He establishes you, storms may come, but your foundation stands firm. That is the kind of success that will outlive you. That is the kind of legacy that will echo into eternity. So here's the question. Will you trust God with your definition of success? Will you surrender your need for control? Will you allow Him to lead you even when the path makes no sense? Will you endure the season of silence, knowing that the sound of true success is often born in stillness? Will you dare to walk alone if it means walking in divine alignment? Because if you do, if you truly yield everything, you will begin to see what only a few ever see. You will walk in divine success, not because you forced your way forward, but because you followed God step by step. And the fruit will speak for itself. The peace will confirm it. The doors will validate it. The presence of God will seal it. Do not chase platforms, chase purpose. Do not pursue influence, pursue intimacy with God. And when you do, success will no longer be something you strive for. It will be something that follows you, flows through you, and lifts others around you. That, my friend, is success that never fades. That is success rooted in eternity. And that is the kind of success God is ready to release if only you are ready to receive. And now, I want to speak directly to the depths of your spirit. You will never attract divine success if your heart is still chained to the approval of people. The fear of man is a trap. It will silence your courage, blur your vision, and rob your identity. When you are more concerned with what people think than what God has commanded, you forfeit the greatness He has placed within you. You cannot walk in God's power while bowing to human opinion. You must rise with holy confidence and declare, I will follow God even if I stand alone. Because true success is not popularity, it is purity, it is integrity, it is walking with God when no one else understands. There is something sacred about walking with unwavering focus. You cannot be easily moved by noise if you are deeply rooted in purpose. Many miss their moment because they are too distracted by what doesn't matter. They scroll for hours and pray for minutes. They feed the flesh and starve the soul. And then they wonder why success feels so far. Let me be clear. What you feed will grow, and what you starve will die. Feed your faith, nourish your vision, starve your doubts. Mute the voices that poison your peace. And above all, tune your ears to the voice of God, because when He speaks, confusion clears, direction comes, and power flows. Listen closely. Every divine success is birthed through discipline. Not talent, not charisma, not luck, discipline. the ability to say no to temptation, the strength to get up early and seek God, the power to control your emotions when everything within you wants to retaliate. Discipline is the altar where greatness is sacrificed and success is forged. God will not entrust influence to those who can't manage themselves. You must govern your appetite, your habits, your relationships. The hand of God rests upon those who are ruled not by impulse, but by conviction. If you master discipline, success will follow you like a shadow at noon. Let me remind you, success is not the absence of battles, is the presence of God in the midst of them. If you think a successful life is a painless one, you've believed a lie. Some of the most favored people go through the deepest waters. Why? Because pressure produces power. Trials birth authority. Pain forges wisdom. And in the fire, you don't just learn about God, you encounter Him. You learn to lean on Him, trust Him, wait for Him. And the success that comes from that kind of intimacy cannot be explained. It must be experienced. Let this truth strike deep. God will never promote who you pretend to be. He only blesses the version of you that is surrendered. Stop performing. Stop comparing. Stop trying to imitate what looks like success on others. God didn't call you to be a replica. He called you to be a revelation. There is something unique in your journey, something sacred in your scars, something divine in your voice. Don't hide it. Don't dilute it. Don't bury it. Rise up and walk in the fullness of who God designed you to be. Your authenticity is the key to the door you've been trying to open. And hear me now, what you tolerate will determine what you attract. If you allow chaos, you will repel peace. If you tolerate dishonor, you will lose your sense of worth. If you live among deception, you will confuse your discernment. Draw a line in the sand. Protect your peace. Honor your purpose. Guard your soul, because success requires standards. You must elevate your expectations, not in pride, but in reverence, because what God has placed in you is holy. It must be stewarded with wisdom and protected with courage. Success, my friend, is not random. It is intentional. It is the result of a life built on sacred choices day after day. The choice to pray when it's easier to sleep. The choice to speak truth when silence is safer. The choice to forgive when bitterness feels justified. The choice to stay pure when compromise is applauded. These are the building blocks of divine success. And when God sees these choices, these holy, quiet, unseen sacrifices, He responds with favor that shakes the earth. You must also learn the power of alignment, because success is not just about what you do. It's about where you are planted. Are you positioned where God wants you? Are you listening to voices that feed your spirit or drain your strength? Are you pouring your time into assignments that carry eternal value or wasting it on temporary thrills? Alignment is everything. A seed can be perfect, but if planted in the wrong soil, it will never grow. Get planted in places where God is present, in atmospheres where your faith is stirred, around people who challenge you to rise, not settle. And let's go even deeper. Your success is tied to your level of trust. The more you trust God, the more He can release into your life. But trust is not just words, it's its action. It's walking in peace when the storm is raging. It's giving when you're down to your last. It's stepping out when there's no safety net. Trust is raw. Trust is radical. Trust is the language that moves heaven. If God knows He can trust you to trust Him, then He will pour out what you didn't even ask for. Success flows in the current of complete surrender. Let me shake you awake. You are not waiting on success. Success is waiting on you. It's waiting on your courage. It's waiting on your obedience. It's waiting on your discipline. It's waiting on your alignment. Stop saying one day and start declaring, this day I choose to walk with God. This day I let go of excuses. This day I rise above the limitations I once accepted. This day I step into the identity God has spoken over me since the beginning of time. Because the moment you align with His voice, the moment you choose purpose over comfort, that's when success begins to unlock. But remember, the success God gives will always point back to Him. It will never be about your name, your fame, or your empire. It will be about His glory, His kingdom, His purpose in the earth. If the success you seek is for your ego, it will eventually destroy you. But if it is rooted in humility and fueled by a desire to serve, it will multiply beyond your imagination. God trusts those who reflect His heart. So check your motives. Refine your intentions. Make sure your deepest desire is not to be seen, but to be useful in God's hands. And finally, understand this deeply. The reward of success is not just material, it is spiritual. It is peace that cannot be shaken. It is wisdom that guides without confusion. It is joy that doesn't depend on applause. It is influence that uplifts others instead of crushing them. It is legacy that echoes beyond your lifetime. This kind of success cannot be bought, copied, or manipulated. It is born in the fire of God's presence and sustained by the fear of losing Him. And now I want you to open your heart wider, because what I'm about to declare is not only truth, it is divine revelation. You see, the kind of success that comes from God is not a possession, it's a transformation. It's not about acquiring more, but about becoming more. When God calls you to success, He's not calling you to comfort. He's calling you to be changed. The greatest miracle is not when your situation changes. It's when your character changes in the presence of God. Because the higher God lifts you, the deeper your roots must grow. If your character does not match your elevation, your success will become your downfall. Let me speak directly to your potential. God has already placed everything you need within you. You don't need to beg anyone for your breakthrough. You don't need to compromise to gain access. The source of your increase, the key to your next level, the power to fulfill your assignment is not outside of you, it's within. It was deposited by God Himself before you were even born. And success comes not when you search for what's missing, but when you unlock what's already there through obedience, discipline, and unwavering faith. But understand this clearly. You cannot operate in the fullness of what God has given you if your life is out of order. Chaos blocks clarity. Disobedience cancels direction. A cluttered spirit cannot receive divine instruction. If you want to attract success, you must create space for God to move. Clear your heart of resentment. Cleanse your mind of toxic thoughts. Organize your time around what matters eternally. Success flows into order. And when your life is structured around the fear and reverence of God, the flow of blessing will be unstoppable. Now, let me stir something even deeper within you. Success is not always loud. Sometimes the most powerful victories are silent. They happen in private battles no one sees. The success of turning away from temptation, the success of choosing silence over revenge, the success of staying consistent when no one claps for you. These victories are invisible to the world, but they are celebrated by God. Because God sees beyond numbers, beyond titles, beyond applause. He sees the soul, and He rewards what is done in secret with results that cannot be denied. If you truly want to attract success, you must understand the mystery of divine timing. Not every door is meant to open. Now, some doors require patience, perseverance, and process. Rushing will ruin what God is trying to prepare. Many fail not because they lack ability, but because they lack patience. They try to manufacture results instead of waiting for God to manifest them. But when you trust His timing, you will receive not just what you desire, but what is right. And the right thing at the right time is the foundation of lasting success. And let me declare this boldly: your atmosphere matters. You cannot soar while surrounded by snakes. You cannot grow where gossip is normal and negativity is tolerated. The people you keep around you will either stir your spirit or suffocate your vision. You need voices that remind you of your calling. You need people who speak to your destiny, not your dysfunction. Stop entertaining company that makes you comfortable in compromise. Success requires you to be selective with your circle. God will bring the right people, but you must let go of the wrong ones. Let's talk about the foundation. If your definition of success does not begin and end with pleasing God, you are building on sand. You can gain the whole world, but if your spirit is empty, you have lost everything that matters. The world teaches you to chase recognition, but God teaches you to chase righteousness. The world promotes platforms, but God prepares you in secret. The world pushes you to be known, but God molds you to be aligned. And when you get your priorities in order, success begins to find you. Because God rewards those who put Him first, not just in word, but in lifestyle. And let me make this truth unshakable in your soul. God does not bless arrogance. You can have skill, but if pride is in your heart, success will turn against you. Humility is the foundation of divine promotion. Stay low in your spirit. Stay teachable. Stay grateful. Because the moment you think you've arrived, you disqualify yourself from going further. Success is safest in the hands of those who know they are nothing without God. And those who truly walk with God don't use success to boast. They use it to bless. They understand that favor is not for flaunting, it's for serving. Let me take you higher. True success leaves a legacy of light. It doesn't die when you do. It impacts generations. It outlives your name. It plants seeds of truth, integrity, and faith that flourish long after you're gone. What are you building? Are you building a tower to your own ego? Or are you building an altar that glorifies God? Because towers fall, but altars draw heaven. The measure of your success is not in how high you climb, but in how deeply your impact roots itself in eternity. And you must also understand this: you cannot attract success while entertaining double-mindedness. You cannot walk in two directions and reach your destination. A divided heart cannot host the power of God. You must choose fully, faithfully, fearlessly. Either you trust God with all, or you trust Him with nothing. There is no in-between in the realm of divine success. Half-heartedness will delay what full obedience would have already delivered. Choose today to be all in. Choose to walk with a single purpose. Choose to pursue success the way God intended, with holiness, with discipline, and with unwavering faith. Now I ask you, are you prepared for the responsibility that comes with success? Because it is not a game, With elevation comes exposure. With influence comes attack. With authority comes accountability. Many want the crown, but few are willing to carry the cross of self-denial. You must be built to last, not just to shine. You must have a soul that can endure the pressure of favor. And God will test you before He trusts you. Every test is preparation for the territory He wants to give you. Pass the test, and the territory is yours. Do not fear the pruning season. God cuts off what you do not need to carry what you are called to bear. He removes what hinders. He breaks what must be rebuilt. And though the pruning is painful, it is purposeful. It makes room. It refines your vision. It sharpens your faith. And when it's done, you'll not only walk in success, you'll sustain it. So let this sink in deeply. You were not born to live beneath your purpose. You were created by God to reign in discipline, to lead in excellence, to thrive in righteousness. But it will not come by wishing. It will not come by watching others. It will come by deciding. It will come by surrendering. It will come by doing the hard things, the holy things, the hidden things. And when you do, success will no longer be an accident. It will be the natural result of a life fully surrendered to God. Because when God is at the center of your focus, the source of your strength, and the author of your steps, then success doesn't come and go. It follows you. It surrounds you. It fills your life with meaning, direction, and divine impact. That is the success that heaven honors. That is the success worth living for. That is the success no enemy can steal, no man can stop, and no time can erase. So now, as you stand at the threshold of your destiny, let me speak this final truth into the depths of your soul. You truly want to attract success? You must first attract the presence of God. Because where God dwells, peace reigns. Where God leads, purpose is clear. Where God speaks, confusion ceases. And where God moves, success follows. Not the fleeting success of this world, but the unshakable, unbreakable, divine success that transforms everything it touches. Do not let the noise of this world deceive you. Do not trade your integrity for applause. Do not lose your soul while chasing shadows that cannot satisfy. Build your life on surrender. Choose obedience when it costs you something. Choose humility when pride demands attention. Choose purpose when distractions surround you. And above all, choose to honor God in everything you do. Because the greatest success is not wealth, fame, or a platform. It is walking daily in alignment with the will of God. It is laying your head down at night knowing you please the one who sees all. It is waking each morning with peace in your spirit, strength in your heart, and fire within your bones. Let others pursue temporary crowns. Let others run after hollow praise, but you walk with God. Serve with passion. Live with discipline. Speak with intention. Move forward in faith. And when the dust settles, when the years pass, and when your life is measured not by people but by heaven, you will be called successful in the only way that truly matters. Not because you climbed to the top, but because you walked faithfully with the one who lifted you there. That, my friend, is success that never fades and a reward that never ends. Friends, listen with your whole heart, because what I am about to speak carries the pulse of hope, a burning declaration meant to awaken your spirit and leave you forever changed. Right now, in this very moment, God is moving. If you feel trapped, if the storms of life have worn you down, if worry weighs heavy on your heart and doubt has crowded your mind, hear this clearly. God is preparing to shift everything in your favor. This is not shallow encouragement or empty words. This is a truth that shakes the heavens and commands the earth to respond. God's hand has not grown weak, and His power has not faded. He is fully able to rescue you, fully able to lift you out of every chain and every low place that threatens your soul. This is a divine promise, urgent and alive, echoing from eternity straight into your life. A shift is coming, a turning, a supernatural reversal that will shatter every barrier between you and the victory God has already prepared. Can you sense it rising within you? It is the breath of God's presence entering your situation, ready to scatter obstacles and pull down strongholds of fear and frustration. You have waited long enough. You have prayed with intensity, wept in silence, and even questioned whether your cries were heard. But believe this tonight, God has not forgotten you. Your story is not finished. Your breakthrough is not postponed. God's timing is perfect, and His plan surpasses the understanding of every human heart. The moment you have been waiting for is on the horizon, drawing near as the night yields to the dawn. This shift is not accidental. It is intentional, sovereign, and filled with divine purpose. Consider how relentless storms sometimes seem to rage against us. How dark the nights feel when the shadows deepen. Yet, God's light never fails. Though the clouds cover the sun still shines behind them, ready to burst forth and illuminate the entire sky. So too, your trials are but temporary veils that God will lift with His mighty hand. He is the God of shifting circumstances, of turning what looks impossible into unmistakable victory. When you look back one day and see the valley you walk through, you will understand, in a way that only faith can reveal, the valley was the path for God's greater glory to move in your life. I want you to rise up with your eyes wide open, with a heart fully expectant, because God is not just rearranging things here and there. He is orchestrating a divine shift that will open doors no man can shut and close doors that must never be entered. This is the shift of divine favor, the floodgate of blessings, the miracle that defies logic and reason, because it is God Himself who moves on your behalf. You are not alone. In fact, God's eyes are running to and fro across the earth, searching for those whose hearts are fully committed, those who have not given up, those who are ready to receive His mighty deliverance. If that is you, then listen carefully. This moment demands faith. It requires that you stand firm on the promises of God, that you believe with more conviction than ever before, because what you believe will begin to form reality. You may have been betrayed, abandoned, misunderstood, and left in despair. But God's love does not fail. His love does not delay. God's love is the unshakable foundation upon which everything good is built. And when He decides to shift things in your favor, you will know it. By the peace that surpasses all understanding, by the strength that rises within you that no enemy can overpower. You will see doors opening where walls stood, hear chains falling where bondage once ruled, and experience joy bubbling forth where there was once only sorrow. This is the power of God's favorite, changes destinies. It rewrites history. It ushers in a new season of hope. Remember, God's shift is often quiet before it becomes loud. It is tender before it becomes triumphant. Like the breaking of dawn that starts as a whisper of light before it bursts into brilliant day, God's work in your life begins in ways unseen but unmistakable to those who watch by faith. The waiting season is not wasted. It is the preparation ground for greatness. Every delay, every setback, every challenge is being used by God to perfect you, to refine your character, and to heighten your dependence on His unchanging power. Now, listen carefully as I say this. No power in heaven or earth can stop the shift God is bringing. He is the Almighty One, the Eternal, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No circumstance, no opposition, no past failure can stand before His majesty. If you have trusted in Him, then you can boldly declare, God has turned my mourning into dancing. He will put off my sackcloth and clothe me with joy. This is not mere poetry. It is the living reality for those who embrace the shift God is carrying out. So, what must you do? Stand firm. Lift up your eyes and fix them on God who does the impossible. Strengthen your heart with faith, not fear. Declare with confidence that you will see the goodness of God in the land of the living. God is aligning circumstances, raising up helpers, pouring out wisdom and resources, all for your good. He has prepared victory in the heavens and tiptoes around the corner of your life, ready to unveil it. The shift you are praying for is also a shift within you. God will move in the depths of your soul, stirring courage where there was timidity, igniting passion where there was coldness, and rekindling hope where despair tried to set up camp. This inner transformation is the foundation for the outer blessing. You cannot receive the fullness of God's shift unless your heart is ready. Unless you strip away bitterness, unforgiveness, and doubt. Choose today to embrace God's grace, to walk in obedience, to wait with patience and expectancy. When God shifts everything in your favor, it is not just fleeting luck or temporary success. You will carry the mark of divine empowerment for a lifetime. Gates that once led to dead ends will open wide toward your destiny. Your testimony will shine brilliantly to encourage others who are in the waiting room of life. You will understand that God's timing is perfect and that His love is relentless. Now, hear me again. This coming shift is not just about your circumstances. It is about God revealing His unmatched glory through your life. When God moves, He moves with a purpose far beyond our understanding. He is the Master, threading your trials and triumphs into an intricate tapestry of divine beauty. This is the moment where despair will bow before hope, where limitation will be swallowed by boundless possibility, because God's power makes the weak strong, the small great, and the broken whole. Do you realize that no night is so dark that God cannot create day from it. No prison is so secure that God cannot break every chain and open every door. We often carry the weight of past failures and the sting of rejection. But God is about to change that narrative. He is the God who resurrects dry bones, who causes barren places to bloom, who breathes life where there was once only death. If your heart is weary, if your spirit feels crushed, know this: the God who created the stars and placed them in their courses is the very same God working on your behalf. He is a God of miracles and movement, not stagnation. When He decides to favor you, the heavens themselves will shift in alignment with His will for your life. Your breakthrough will be so profound, so undeniable, that even the forces opposing you will have to acknowledge the hand of God at work. You must be ready to receive this shift with an open and willing heart. It is not enough to hope quietly or to pray half-heartedly. God's favor demands that you rise up with boldness and courage. The Scripture declares in no uncertain terms, "Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not grow weary, and they shall walk and not faint." This promise is not meant for the passive. It is for those who are purposeful, those who refuse to sink under the weight of discouragement. So prepare yourself, dear soul, to rise like an eagle. For God's favor is lifting you higher than you have ever dared to imagine. There is another dimension to this shift. God is not only realigning the external, but also transforming the internal. Your heart will be purified like gold refined by fire. Doubts that once clouded your vision will be swept away by the fierce clarity of faith. God's shift will awaken within you a hunger for righteousness, a passion for truth, and a commitment to integrity that will shine as brightly as the sun. The world around you will recognize that this change is not merely luck or coincidence, but the undeniable work of the Almighty. Your character will be a testament to His faithfulness. I urge you to cling to this truth with unwavering determination. Your past does not define your future. Your limitations do not dictate your destiny. And the failures that once haunted you will become the stepping stones to your greatest victories. God is not a God of yesterday's regrets, but of tomorrow's glory. He is already on the move to lift you above the noise, above the confusion, into a realm of divine favor and peace. He shifts not only the mountains in front of you, but also the landscape within you, bringing forth hope where there was despair, joy where there was mourning, and power where there was weakness. Listen well, for this is the day to reject the voice of doubt and to embrace the voice of divine assurance. God's timing is perfect, and His plans for you are plans of prosperity, not of harm, to give you a future and a hope. This is the time to declare a holy war against the spirit of fear that attacks your mind and tries to paralyze your faith. Stand firm on the rock of God's promises. Speak boldly that the shift is here, that it is unstoppable, irreversible, and unmatched. Your testimony will someday inspire multitudes because you dared to believe when everything around you screamed impossible. Do not underestimate the power of persistent faith. Even when the evidence seems thin, God's favor is real and active. The sun rises every morning without fail, and so does God's mercy toward you. It is new every day. With each step you take in faith, the shift grows stronger, the tides turn higher, and the impossible edges closer to your grasp. Your prayer life becomes a powerful lightning rod, attracting heaven's favor. Your acts of kindness and righteousness position you as a vessel ready to receive divine blessings. God's shift honors those who honor Him with their hearts and their lives. And remember, this divine shift is not confined by human boundaries or logic. God's hand stretches from eternity to eternity. His wisdom is beyond measure. What men declare impossible, God calls close at hand. What human hearts despair over, God declares ripe for harvest. Expect the unexpected, for God delights in confounding the proud and uplifting the humble. This is your invitation to step into the miraculous, to watch the heavens literally open on your behalf, and to witness signs and wonders as God Himself declares, "This one I favor, and I am shifting their circumstances." So rise, take courage, and fix your eyes on the author of your destiny. You are not forgotten, you are not forsaken, you are not failing. God's mighty hand is reaching down to lift you. God's voice is calling you to rise, and God's eternal power is ready to renew your strength. When you face the storm, declare that God's favor is the shield around you. When you walk into the unknown, proclaim that God's light guides your steps. You are standing on the threshold of something great, something divine, something eternal. The shift in your favor will flood your life with blessings that cannot be measured, joy that cannot be contained, and peace that surpasses all human understanding. Hold fast to this promise. It is anchored in the unchanging nature of God, the one who holds the whole universe in His hands, the one who numbers every hair on your head and marks every tear you have shed. He is about to show forth His glory through you, and the world will see that there is a God who reigns, who moves mightily, and who always causes all things to work together for the good of those who love Him. Let every part of your being awaken to this truth. When God moves to shift your life, He does so with unparalleled authority and wisdom. The winds of change that God brings are never random, never out of control. They are sovereign currents of purpose, sent to carry you far beyond what you ever dared imagine. God, in infinite compassion, sees not only your needs, but the hidden cries of your soul, the dreams yet spoken, the prayers yet uttered. God knows the depths of your longing more deeply than you do. In every season of waiting, every unanswered question, it is God who is preparing you for more than a mere answer. He is preparing you for transformation. The story is far bigger than a change in fortune. It is about the transformation of your soul, the unearthing of gifts God has buried within you for such a time as this. Listen, the shift God brings into your life is not dependent on the approval of others or the logic of circumstance. God breaks the pattern, disrupts the cycle, and sets a new course where there was none. When the world says the door is shut, God says, I am making a way even through the wilderness. His promises are not empty gestures. They are contracts sealed by His eternal word. When you choose to trust in God's shift, you step out of the shadows of fear and into the radiant field of faith, a place where the impossible bends its knee and the ordinary becomes extraordinary under God's touch. You must understand that God's favor is not earned by perfection, but received by surrender. When you lay down your fears, your pride, and your disappointments before God, you make room for miracles. Every act of humility, every quiet moment of trust is a seed that God waters and multiplies into a harvest of blessings. As you journey forward, let your prayers be bolder, your worship deeper, your hope be brighter. For God honors those who dare to believe beyond the present reality. Even if you cannot see the full extent of God's plan, you can trust the heart that holds your future. In times of uncertainty, when you're tempted to waver, remember, God is not limited by what limits you. What seems like an ending is often the beginning of God's greatest work in your story. Stand firm in the silence, for God is always speaking, always working, always designing beauty from ashes. Learn to recognize the subtle rhythms of God's guidance, a gentle prompt, a sudden surge of peace, a closed door that was never meant for you. These are the ways God orchestrates the shift, leading you away from what would have hindered you and toward what will fulfill you. There is a sacredness to struggle, a holiness in your longing. For it is in those places that God forges character and prepares you for greater things. Do not despise your challenges. See them as divine invitations. With every burden you release to God, you become lighter for the journey ahead. When difficulties seem unending, remind yourself, it is the refiner's fire that brings forth the purest gold. God does not waste your tears. He stores them as testimony to the faith that rises in you. The shift on the horizon is birthed through these very moments of perseverance. Let each setback remind you that what lies behind pales in comparison to what God is guiding you toward. Your worth is not measured by your scars or your accolades, but by the unwavering love God lavishes upon you. When you fall short, God's mercy is greater. When you grow weary, God's strength becomes your own. When you face opposition, know that God's shield is impenetrable, guarding you through every storm. Rest in this confidence. God's shift is not just about your victory, but about His glory revealed in you. Do not let the opinions of others or past disappointments be the ceiling of your faith. God alone has the final word over your destiny. Where others see limitations, God sees opportunity. Where they see a valley, God sees the mountain rising in the distance. Stay anchored to the hope that God's hand is moving, even when you cannot track it. Keep your spirit open, your mind expectant, and your heart receptive. For God delivers in seasons that often seem the least likely. If you find yourself in the valley, do not be ashamed or discouraged. Valleys are corridors to new heights with God. In the quiet, in the pressing, in the waiting, God is shaping in you a resilience that cannot be shaken. The comfort He brings you now is the very fuel that will propel you into the places you are destined to reach. Allow your faith to expand, to stretch, to become as daring as the God you worship, refusing to settle, refusing to accept anything less than God's best. Let your life be the living proof that God's power is never diminished by silence or darkness or delay. Your testimony will shine not in spite of your struggle, but because of it. The world will witness the shift and know it is God who has done it, who uplifted, who restored, who multiplied hope where hope was gone. All things, the seen and the unseen, bow to God's command. Trust boldly and walk freely. For when God shifts everything in your favor, you are both changed and empowered to become a beacon to all who still wait for their own day of deliverance. Let your soul be alert to this. There is a sacred urgency pulsing through your life. When God stands ready to shift the very ground beneath your feet, when God determines a turning point, nothing on earth or in the unseen realm can halt it. He orchestrates events with such wisdom that even delays become bridges. Setbacks morph into setups, and silence churns with the promise of coming thunder. God's favor does not arrive quietly. It moves with a majesty that leaves you and all who witness it awestruck. The burdens that felt immovable begin to lose their grip, and new possibilities break in like a tide that cannot be turned back. There is a profound humility in recognizing that every breath, every opportunity, and every day you wake to see the light is a gift lovingly extended by God. Let your gratitude become a wellspring, a river that flows through doubt, discontent, and disappointment. Nothing in your story is wasted. God uses every thread, every trial, every joy, and every tear to weave outcomes that far surpass human understanding. Rise in the confidence that even when the world discards or overlooks you, God's vision is vivid, God's plans precise, and His timing exact. Each moment is a note in a symphony that only God could compose for your ultimate good. Allow yourself to be transformed by the patience God instills within you. It is in the waiting, when answers seem distant and prayers return in echoes, that your character grows and your faith gains muscle. God, who set the stars in their courses and commands the rain to fall in its season, teaches that trust endures not by sight, but by surrender. When shadows lengthen and hope feels faint, recall that God brings forth light out of darkness and harvest out of barrenness. His promises are as sure as the dawn, His word unbreakable as the mountains that stand through the ages. Let your mind be renewed by the certainty that God's will is never at the mercy of circumstance. He acts with intention, pressing within you the conviction that your present is not your prison and your future is uncontainable under His guidance. God refines you so you may reflect the brilliance of His wisdom, so your influence sparkles not only in moments of triumph, but also through seasons of testing. The confidence to press onward, even when the way is unclear, is the finest evidence of God's hand anchoring your spirit. If you sense obstacles mounting or adversaries gathering, remember that God's protection is impenetrable. He encircles those who trust Him with a favor that repels adversity and draws in opportunity. Do not be disheartened when doors close or people withdraw, for sometimes separation is God's preparation, thinning your surroundings so only what serves your purpose remains. What He brings to you, no force can take away. And what He moves out, trust that your path is being cleared for greater things. Lift your aspirations. Pray not only for relief from hardship, but for wisdom to discern God's purpose in every circumstantial twist. Let your faith be proactive, setting sail before the winds of blessing are visible, knowing that God upholds what is committed faithfully into His keeping. Stand ready to serve, to extend kindness, to sow encouragement. For God rewards those who bless others, even in their own season of waiting. Keep your heart attuned to the quiet movements of God. Encounters, moments, and insights that seem small but are seeds of momentous change. A simple act can trigger a wave of blessing. A whispered prayer can move mountains. When uttered in unwavering faith, invite God to saturate every corner of your life, so nothing is walled off from His transforming touch. Remember, God's presence is the fountain that never runs dry. When friends fail, when strength withers, when resources dwindle, God remains abundantly, inexhaustibly present. You do not walk alone. You are carried by a love that is measureless and guided by a wisdom unfathomable. As you await the turning, as you sense the stirring, as you grasp for new beginnings, let hope anchor your heart and let every step resound with the assurance God is about to shift everything in your favor, and with Him, all things become possible. Let your spirit awaken afresh to the astonishing truth that in every season of your life, God's wisdom is at work, orchestrating details you could never foresee. Trust that even in the quiet stretches where answers seem concealed and blessings distant, God is cultivating the soil of your heart for an abundant harvest. This is the hour when God calls you to dare greatly, to rise above complacency, and to open your arms wide for the unforeseen goodness coming your way. Cast away the notion that you must find your own way through the maze. God is the waymaker, the pathfinder, the one who draws straight lines through life's crooked places. There comes a point where you must choose. Will you settle for what you understand, or will you surrender to the magnitude of what God can do? The greatest shift does not start with your circumstances changing, it starts with your vision growing. God is calling you to see beyond your limits, beyond the voices that plant doubt, beyond the wounds that tried to make you retreat. Lift your expectations. The one who carved the valleys and scattered the stars has not missed a single detail of your struggle. Every trial you survive, every battle you endure, becomes a testimony marked by God's faithfulness, sending waves of hope to everyone who witnesses your breakthrough. Understand this: God's shift is both an invitation and a promise. It is a call to step out of fearful patterns and leave behind the cycles of defeat that kept you trapped. Where the world draws hard lines around what can be done, God redraws the boundary with one touch of grace. He breathes fresh vision into tired hearts, new courage into shaking hands, and restores dignity to lives bruised by disappointment. You are not trapped by your past, and you are not limited by what stands in front of you right now. God's favor has a record of turning unlikely moments into fruitful seasons. Let the certainty of God's presence become your lifeline. And when the storm rises, anchor yourself in prayer, in real conversation with God, the kind that moves mountains you cannot see. In moments of uncertainty, remember that God is not silent. He is inviting you deeper, calling you to hear guidance that the noise of life often drowns out. Refuse to interpret the temporary silence as absence. Understand it as the holy pause before a powerful move. As you release anxiety and grasp the unyielding promise of God's presence, peace begins to replace pressure, and gratitude overtakes fear. There is strength in humble reliance. Let your greatness be found, not in how high you climb, but in how deeply you depend on God's sustaining presence. Yield to the wisdom that says, God's plans may baffle your senses, but they will never betray your trust. When storms rage and chaos shakes your surroundings, secure your mind with the truth that God is uncontested in sovereignty and unmatched in compassion. His hand steers the currents of your life toward shorelines you would never have chosen, but that proved to be exactly what your soul needed. As you walk through doors only God could open, let your first offering be thanks. Give praise for the battles you never noticed, for the dangers diverted, for the countless no's that spared you from a lesser destiny. Let gratitude not become contingent upon visible blessings, but rooted in the unwavering confidence that God's love is intentional and His shift is always for your highest good. The more you thank God, even for what you do not yet understand, the better you position yourself to receive the next wave of favor. Stand tall, not in self-assurance, but in the certainty that God's Word will never fail. Let each sunrise be a summons to hope. Let the rhythm of your every heartbeat echo the anthem of reliance, that God is for you, that God is with you, and that God is already making all things new. Speak life into dead places. Declare hope where discouragement once held sway. For just as the barren earth blooms in its appointed season, so too will your life blossom. As you yield everything to God's masterful touch, this sacred shift is not a fleeting moment, but a lasting transformation. You are being prepared not just for relief, but for purpose. What God initiates, no hand can thwart. What God promises, no force can break. No valley is too deep, and no summit too high for God's reach. As you press forward, carry this unwavering truth in your soul. God is never late, never outmatched, never lacking. The pages of your story are still being written by the author who delights in redeeming every chapter. Let this conviction saturate your days. God's favor is not a rumor, not a distant hope, but a present active force surrounding you right now. Open your eyes to the subtle signs. Attune your ears to the softest whispers. In time, every seed sown in faith will bear the fruit of a life changed by trust, courage, and unwavering surrender to the God who shifts everything in your favor. There is a sacred awakening that occurs when you finally realize that God's purpose runs deeper than fleeting comfort or the satisfaction of immediate wants. God does not simply remove obstacles, He transforms trials into teachers and detours into doorways. Every step you've taken, every valley crossed, was preparation for the unveiling of extraordinary favor. What may have appeared as rejection was often God's redirection, shielding you from roads that would have led you astray. Set aside the urge to question every twist, and instead embrace the revelation that no event escapes God's all-seeing wisdom. In the grand weave of your life, every thread, even the tangled and torn, is worked into greater beauty by His hand. Invite hope to sit beside you when discouragement knocks at your door. Allow yourself to be astonished daily by God's ability to turn scarcity into abundance and lack into overflow. The God who sustains the sparrows and clothes the lilies in glory is ever attentive to your needs, and there is no shortage in the storehouses of divine provision. When you feel the burden of waiting pressing in, remember, waiting with God is never inactivity. It is the training ground for miracles. With every silent dawn that you greet in hope, you are strengthening the roots of faith that will bear the weight of coming blessings. Open your heart wide and let expectation swell, not with arrogance, but with a humble recognition that God delights in the boldness of your trust. Let today be the day you risk believing in the sheer scale of God's generosity and the mystery of His timing. Speak affirmations of faith over your life. Let your lips declare the reality of the invisible, for God honors the courage to proclaim unseen blessings. Where logic draws boundaries, let faith leap beyond. Where cynicism sees futility, dare to declare fruitfulness. Remember, God's record is unblemished. There is not one promise left unfulfilled for those who anchor themselves in trust. Release the grip on all disappointments. Do not let what went wrong in the past harden your spirit. Instead, use every scar as proof of God's healing, every closed chapter as witness that endings only clear space for beginnings, orchestrated by one who knows your need before a word escapes your tongue. If you must look back, do so only to marvel at how far God has carried you. If you look ahead, do so with the unshakable assurance that the path is shaped by a hand both tender and mighty. Let the testimony of your life become an oasis for others, a living invitation to witness what God can do when faith outlasts fear. Seek not just personal advancement, but that your favor would spill over, quenching the thirst of those lost in their own deserts of doubt. In every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, let it be known that you serve a God whose abundance never narrows to self-interest, but overflows in rivers of compassion. As new opportunities emerge, resist the pull of worry. What is ordained for you cannot be snatched away. Ignore the murmur of voices that belittle your hope, for they do not know the intimacy of your journey with God. Let your confidence be founded on substance far deeper than shifting opinion or temporary applause. It is rooted in the unchanging character of God, who alone holds your destiny secure. The shift you sense is not a gentle nudge, but a divine surge, realigning circumstances, relationships, and even desires, so that what blesses you will also honor the one who brings every good gift to fruition. As courage rises within, as certainty displaces doubt, remember that your gratitude and obedience are the greatest offerings you bring to God. Respond generously to His generosity. Be faithful with small things, for God delights in trusting you with more. Persevere through delay, armed with the knowledge that God has not forgotten. He is refining, not denying. Stir your heart to gratitude before the answer comes, giving thanks for the outcome you cannot yet see, but surely will. Use every waking hour as testimony to hope that stands tall against despair. Surround yourself with reminders of every victory, every moment when God's help arrived in the midnight hour, renewing your resolve and breathing new power into tired bones. Every morning, invite God's wisdom to go before you. Walk with quiet expectation. Speak words that encourage, and choose actions that reflect the conviction that your life is being carefully shifted by God toward a purpose greater than your imagination can hold. Live as one who trusts, not just with words, but with the radiant peace that marks those who know God's favor is both present and advancing. Peace so vibrant that it becomes a beacon through the storms of life to all who stand in the shadows, waiting for dawn. Let the depths of your heart awaken to this. When God declares a new season, every limitation that wants to find you must bow before His power. The dawn of transformation does not arrive with thunderous noise, but comes dressed in quiet conviction, whispering to your soul that there is more hope, more purpose, more grace than you have ever fathomed. God's presence is as close as the very breath in your lungs, never distant, never indifferent. He is attentive to every silent cry, every wordless longing, every hope deferred. Trust that God's attention to the smallest details of your life means nothing is random and nothing unnoticed. With the care of a master builder, God positions every stone and crafts every chapter, designing outcomes that astound even those most familiar with struggle. Do not let the storms intimidate you, for even furious winds must answer to God's command. Just as the mightiest mountains rise at His word, so will obstacles dissolve when their purpose is fulfilled. The comfort you seek is not escape from challenge, but the unshakable assurance that God walks with you through every fire. Release the demand for clarity and embrace the invitation to walk by faith, where vision surrenders to trust and trust grows stronger than understanding. God's wisdom is not bound by your urgency. His timing flows from a higher vantage, seeing the end from the beginning and weaving your deliverance before you are aware you need it. Lift your prayers higher and let your questions become altars, places where uncertainty is exchanged for holy expectancy. Be bold in your requests, not shrinking from the magnitude of what God is capable of doing in your life. As you yield your plans, watch God's greater design unfold beyond the limits of your past experience. The shift you await does not always announce itself with spectacle. Sometimes it blooms quietly within, as newfound patience, peace, and wisdom, the fruits that prove the season has truly changed. When disappointment tries to settle in your soul, remind it that God's record is flawless. Every promise made is a promise kept, though fulfillment may take a different path than you envision. The moments that feel like detours are sometimes the direct routes to deeper strength and unimagined blessings. Invite God to teach you the value of persistence, the beauty of hope, and the discipline of gratitude. Let these virtues become anchors that hold you steady until the full tide of God's favor washes over your life. Allow your spirit to celebrate not only the victories, but also the lessons learned in waiting. Know that every door closed by God is an act of mercy. Every pause of provision, every delay, a measure of protection. Look for the surprising ways God provides. How comfort arrives through a timely word. How direction emerges in quiet reflection. How strength multiplies as you lean not on your own understanding, but on God's infinite wisdom. There is a nobility in leaning on God, acknowledging that your strength was never meant to suffice, and your knowledge never meant to supersede divine guidance. With each surrender, you step further from striving and closer to the assurance that God's goodness is your lifelong inheritance. Encourage yourself with memories of past deliverances and the quiet confidence that the same God who sustained you until now will be faithful to the end. Invite God to enlarge your vision, not for your own acclaim, but so the testimony of your life becomes a light on a hill, a message of hope for those watching your journey. Live generously, knowing that favor from God is not a possession to hoard, but a blessing to be shared. Be quick to forgive, slow to judge, eager to encourage, and steady in unwavering trust. These are the marks of those who have encountered the full power of God's shift. Let humility be your companion and gratitude your anthem as the story unfolds. Each morning, remind yourself that today you stand on the verge of renewal. Each trial faced, each joy embraced, becomes another page in the narrative God is authoring for eternity. Walk in the confidence that your steps are ordered, your needs known, and your destiny secure in God's hand. The shift is ongoing, the transformation is real, and the favor is undeniable. For those whose hope is placed in the one who never fails. Let your heart stand in awe before this timeless truth. God's purposes stretch beyond the horizon of your imagination, and His generosity exceeds every hopeful longing. If doubt has lingered, or fear whispered that you're forgotten, let assurance rise in your spirit. God never abandons those who wait in expectant faith, as the Creator breathes new life into tired dreams. Receive this moment as an invitation to participate in the unfolding of a purpose much grander than you could devise. The shift you are sensing is not mere coincidence. It is the choreography of the divine, guiding your steps to places of peace and flourishing. Do not shrink from uncertainty, for every uncertain path is an opportunity for discovery, a canvas on which God leaves unmistakable marks of kindness and wisdom. Instead of striving for answers, abide in the shelter of trust. Watch how God turns scarcity into abundance, not just in material matters, but in wisdom, peace, and relationships that anchor your soul. He is the restorer of what was lost, and the multiplier of every seed sown in hardship. The valleys you feared to cross prepare you for mountaintop vision, strengthening character and gifting humility. Let your words become mirrors, reflecting God's steadfastness into your circumstances and into the lives of those around you. Speak affirmations of hope into places where silence has reigned too long. Each declaration of faith is both a claim of territory and an invitation for God to reveal even greater wonders. Let the rhythm of prayer be your heartbeat. Make gratefulness your resting place. Ask boldly, not because of your worthiness, but because God's capacity to give knows no limit. At every crossroad, remember that God's guidance is a lamp that cannot be extinguished. Even as uncertainties swirl, trust that God sets the boundaries of the storm and determines when the sun will break through the clouds. What may begin as a test of endurance becomes an arena for God's faithfulness to shine. Where others predict defeat, God announces victory. Where the world points to endings, God crafts new beginnings, brimming with potential. Embrace hardships as invitations, not to despair, but to deeper intimacy with the one who governs all things. Maintain integrity in moments unseen, for God honors the private battles as much as the public triumphs. When resentment or bitterness tempt you, release them, choosing the liberating path of forgiveness. For in doing so, you make more room in your soul for blessings yet to descend. Allow your perspective to widen, recognizing that the shift you receive is rarely meant for you alone. Each gift, each breakthrough, each act of favor bestows upon you the privilege to uplift others and reflect God's boundless compassion. Live generously, with open hands and an open heart. Let your life become an echo of God's goodness in someone else's wilderness. If you wake some morning still heavy with questions, let hope be your anthem and persistence your companion. Remind yourself that God's resolve to do you good is steadfast, and His timing impeccable. Be willing to let go of expectations that limit your faith. Trust instead the journey that is still unfolding, knowing that God's view is never obstructed. Draw comfort from the knowledge that what He ordains, He provides for, and what He promises, He brings to completion. As you continue moving forward, protect your peace with intention. Feed your joy daily and keep planting seeds of faith in every moment. God's favor is not proven by triumph alone, but by a peace that stands unshaken in hardship, a hope that refuses to fade, and a heart willing to love without limits. These are the quiet signs of a life shaped by the hand of God. So allow your spirit to rise as a new dawn approaches, confident that God is at work even where you cannot see. Each unseen moment, each silent season, is part of a greater design unfolding in perfect order. Step into every day with courage, humility, and gratitude. Understand that no barrier is too great, no waiting season is meaningless, and no vision is too large when placed fully in the hands of the Almighty. Hold fast to the truth that God is not only rearranging what surrounds you, but refining who you are becoming. He is forming you into a vessel of hope, wisdom, and compassion for others. Stand rooted in faith, open-handed in spirit, and unwavering in trust. For the one who has called you is faithful. His favor will meet you. His wisdom will lead you, and His love will cover you. The holy shift is not merely approaching, it is already shaping a future greater than you can imagine. Remain firm, because when God begins to move, everything aligns for your good. Have you ever looked at your life and asked, "Why is this happening to me?" Have you ever walked through days so dark, so heavy, so crushing, that it felt like your prayers could not get past the ceiling? Like every word fell back down unanswered. There are moments when the pressure is unbearable, when the suffering feels unfair, and the silence of God feels so loud that you start to wonder if He has forgotten your name. But I came to speak this into your world today. God has not forgotten you. God sees what you are facing. God hears the quiet cries you do not know how to say out loud. And right now, in the middle of your storm, God is turning your troubles into miracles. The reason you are still standing after everything you have been through is not luck. It is not human strength. It is the hand of God that has been covering your life from the beginning. You may not see the whole picture, but He does. You may feel abandoned, but you are not alone. You may feel like nothing can change, but God moves in places that look impossible. He is not intimidated by the depth of your pain, and He is not overwhelmed by the size of your trouble. In fact, in the very place where your trouble feels deepest, that is where God plants the seed of your greatest miracle. There is something you must understand. God never wastes pain. He never allows suffering without purpose. Every tear you've cried, every hardship you've endured, every betrayal you faced has been seen by the eyes of God. And what the enemy intended to use to break you, God is using to build you. What was meant to destroy your faith is being used to deepen it. What was meant to stop you has been transformed into the very fuel that will launch you into a new level of destiny. God is not sitting idle in heaven, watching your struggles with indifference. No, He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating a divine turnaround. You may be in a pit today, but pits are temporary when God is involved. You may feel like you are surrounded by enemies, but when God steps into the battle, the enemy doesn't stand a chance. You may be walking through the fire, but you will not be consumed, because God controls the flames. The trouble is real, yes, but so is the God who rules over it. Don't judge your life by this chapter, because God is not finished with your story. The miracle is not at the beginning, and it's not always at the end. It's in the middle, right where you think it's over. That's where God does His best work. Some of you are facing financial burdens that seem impossible. Bills are stacking up, opportunities are closing, and you feel like you're drowning in pressure. But God is not limited by your bank account. He owns everything. And when God decides to bless you, no man, no system, no economy can stop it. Others are facing betrayal and heartbreak. Friends turned to enemies. Family turned cold. Love turned to silence. But even in that, God is moving. Sometimes He removes people from your life. Not because you did something wrong, but because your destiny can't afford the weight of their presence. Let them go. Because when God brings peace, He often starts by removing what disturbs it. I speak to the one who is weary in faith, the one who has prayed and fasted and waited, but nothing seems to change. Listen to me with your whole heart. Delays are not denials. God hears every word you speak in the secret place. God sees the sacrifices no one else sees. And just because you don't see the result yet doesn't mean the miracle isn't in motion. Sometimes the delay is preparation. Sometimes God is aligning other people in other places so that when He releases the blessing, it will not just meet your need, it will exceed it. You must understand, trouble doesn't mean you're cursed. Trouble doesn't mean you're forgotten. In fact, when you're facing great resistance, it's often a sign that something great is on the way. Hell does not fight empty vessels. The attacks are proof that your life carries purpose. If you were not dangerous to the kingdom of darkness, the enemy wouldn't be trying so hard to stop you. But the fact that you've survived what should have taken you out is proof that the hand of God is on your life. You're not still breathing by accident. You are breathing because God still has plans for you. Let the storms rage. Let the winds howl. Let the nights grow long, because you're not alone in the storm. God is with you, and He is not standing by. He is working. Every time you pray, God moves. Every time you trust Him, when it doesn't make sense, something shifts in the atmosphere. Your faith is the magnet that draws the miracle into your life. And you don't have to understand the how, just trust the who. Trust God. Trust that He knows the way through the wilderness. Trust that He has already written the ending while you're still walking through the valley. Some of you have been mocked for your faith. They laughed when you said God would come through. They rolled their eyes when you said, I believe. But watch what happens when the same people who mocked you see you rise. Watch how God prepares a table in the presence of your enemies. Not to shame them, but to show them what He can do with someone who trusts Him fully. What they thought was your downfall will be your platform. What they thought was your ending will be your testimony. God is not finished. In fact, He's just getting started. And when God moves, He doesn't do small things. When God turns trouble into a miracle, it's not subtle. It's undeniable. The kind of miracle that leaves no doubt. The kind of breakthrough that silences the critics. The kind of blessing that causes people to say, surely this was the hand of God. That's what's coming for you. Not because you deserve it, but because God is faithful. He doesn't operate on your timeline, but He is never late. He may come at the last minute, but when He comes with power. There's someone listening to these words right now who's on the edge of giving up. You've cried yourself to sleep more nights than you can count. You've questioned your worth, your purpose, your future. But hear this clearly. Don't give up. God is not done with you. If He brought you to it, He will bring you through it. The trouble is not the end of your story. The pain is not the full picture. The fire you're walking through is forging something inside of you that is stronger than steel. The pressure you feel is birthing something greater than you've ever imagined. And soon, very soon, what you thought was a breakdown will be revealed as a breakthrough. Do not despise your valley, for that's where fruit grows. Do not curse your trial, for that's where strength is formed. Do not fear the storm, for it's only revealing how strong your foundation really is. And if your foundation is in God, nothing can shake you. You may bend, but you will not break. You may cry, but you will not quit. You may fall, but you will rise again, because the power that holds the universe is holding you. There is a shift coming, a holy reversal, a divine exchange. The very things the enemy sent to destroy you, God is about to use to elevate you. The same hands that carried your burdens will carry your blessing. The same heart that endured rejection will overflow with joy. The same eyes that cried tears of sorrow will soon see the dawn of a new day. God is not blind to your pain, and He is not deaf to your prayer. He is faithful to every word He has spoken. And He is turning your trouble, yes, even this, into a miracle. The storm is not your destination, it's the path to your promise. The fire is not to destroy you, it's to refine you. And what is coming out on the other side of this is not the same person who went in. You are coming out wiser, stronger, purer, bolder. You are coming out with a testimony that will shake nations. You are coming out with faith that no devil in hell can shape. You are coming out carrying evidence that God still works miracles. Let me tell you, the power of God is not limited by the conditions around you. God does not require ideal circumstances to perform a miracle. He is not restricted by timing, location, or logic. When He decides to move, He will move in such a way that human understanding is silenced. You may be standing in the middle of a mess right now, but to God, that mess is raw material for a miracle. While you're looking at broken pieces, God sees a masterpiece in the making. While you're overwhelmed by the size of the problem, God is preparing a solution that exceeds your expectation. You must understand, God does not look at your trouble the way you do. You see trouble and think defeat. God sees trouble and prepares a transformation. The very thing that was sent to bury you is the same thing God will use to build you. The weight you're carrying is heavy, yes. But it's not meant to crush you. It's meant to shape you. Trouble teaches dependence. Trouble breaks pride. Trouble purifies intentions. And when you come out of this, you will no longer be who you used to be. You will carry the strength and maturity that only comes through experience with God in the fire. The delay you're experiencing is not a punishment. It's divine alignment. If God gave you the miracle before you were ready, it would crush you instead of bless you. Sometimes the blessing is not withheld, it's just being perfected. You must trust that God's timing is not just right, it's perfect. And what He is preparing for you is worth every tear, every restless night, every unanswered question. You see the surface, but God sees the entire structure. You want relief, but God wants to give you restoration. You want a quick fix, but God is preparing a permanent shift. The problem is not the enemy. The real challenge is your perception. If you believe that trouble will drown you, you'll live like a victim. But if you believe that God is using this storm to strengthen your faith and prepare your next season, you will walk through the storm with your head high and your faith firm. God never promised a life without struggle, but He promised never to abandon you in the middle of it. His presence in the storm is your assurance that the miracle is already in motion. God allows trouble not to torment you, but to transform you. Every great person in the divine plan went through fire before the blessing. Not because they were forgotten, but because they were being forged. Don't let the process make you bitter. Let it make you better. Don't let it push you away from God. Let it pull you closer. The pressure you feel is not a sign of defeat. It's a sign that something is being birthed in your life. And birth is never silent. It's messy. It's loud. It's painful. But it ends in life. You are not being destroyed. You are being delivered. I speak now to the person who's carrying silent battles. The one who smiles on the outside, but is exhausted on the inside. The one who is faithful in front of others, but questions everything behind closed doors. God sees you. He knows the weight you carry that nobody else can see. He knows how hard you fight to stay strong, and He is not far away. He is near to the brokenhearted. Your silent battles are loud in His ears. Your whispered prayers shake heaven. Your quiet faith in the middle of chaos is producing a harvest greater than you know. When God is preparing to do something extraordinary, He often allows your situation to look completely hopeless. He lets the night get darker before the dawn. Why? Because when the miracle comes, no one will be able to say it was anything but the hand of God. Not your intellects, not your strategy, not your connections, but God alone. And when He brings you out, it won't be barely, it will be completely. It will not be a partial answer, it will be a complete transformation. Don't be discouraged by the silence of God. The silence is not rejection, it's preparation. Sometimes God is quiet because He is working in a deeper place. He is healing wounds you didn't even know existed. He is removing the wrong people and positioning the right ones. He is shifting environments and preparing hearts. And when He speaks, when He moves, it will not be subtle. It will shake everything around you. And those who once doubted your faith will have no choice but to say, surely God has done this. The enemy wants you to believe that your trouble is a sign of abandonment. But it's not. It's a setup, a divine setup, for something greater than you can comprehend. If only you could see what God is protecting you from. If only you knew what doors He is closing for your safety. If only you saw the traps He's removing from your path. Your trouble is not a curse. It's a clue that something significant is about to break loose in your life. The most powerful miracles often begin in the most painful places. Not in comfort, but in chaos. Not in peace, but in pressure. Because pressure produces power. It crushes what's unnecessary and reveals what's essential. And when everything around you falls apart, it forces you to fix your eyes on the only one who never changes. When you have nothing left to lean on, you discover that God is enough. And that discovery is the beginning of strength you didn't know you had. So declare it, even when you don't feel it. God is working. Proclaim it, even when everything looks opposite. God is turning this around. Speak it into the atmosphere. Even when your voice trembles, this trouble is becoming a miracle. Because words of faith activate power, and power moves mountains. Refuse to be defeated in your spirit. The battle may rage on the outside, but let peace rule on the inside. Because you are not walking alone. You are being led, shielded, and empowered by God. And when the miracle comes, and it will, you will look back and understand why the trouble was necessary. You will see how every closed door led you to the right one. How every heartbreak taught you to discern. How every delay protected you from danger. How every struggle prepared you for strength. You will realize that what you thought was breaking you was actually building you. And when others ask how you made it through, you will say it was God. This is not the end. This is not where your story stops. This is just the middle. The place where God does His greatest work. Don't rush out of the process. Don't resent the pressure. Trust the timing. Believe that what you carry inside you is too important to be aborted by discouragement. God is not just solving your problem. He is changing your entire life. He is not just making things better. He is making you better. And when He is done, you will carry not just a blessing, but the evidence of divine transformation. And I want to speak now to those whose hearts have grown tired from waiting. You've believed, you've held on, you've trusted through the tears, but somewhere deep inside you feel a quiet voice whispering, maybe it's not going to happen for me. Let me silence that lie with the truth. When God gives a promise, no time, no trial, no person can stop its fulfillment. The waiting is not wasted. Every moment that feels like a delay is packed with purpose. It is in these very seasons when nothing seems to move and the heavens feel still that God is doing His most intimate work in your soul. You must realize that some miracles take longer because they are preparing you for something greater than you imagine. God doesn't rush the masterpiece. He takes His time, shaping your character, expanding your capacity, and testing your endurance, because where you are going, weak faith cannot survive. Shallow belief won't hold. You're not just receiving a blessing, you are becoming someone who can carry the weight of divine purpose. And that means trouble is not your enemy. It is your training ground. Every storm has built your spiritual muscles. Every heartbreak has sharpened your spiritual discernment. You are not breaking down. You are being rebuilt from the inside out. There are some of you who keep asking, why me? Why the loss? Why the betrayal? Why the delay? But hear this with clarity. God did not choose you to suffer. He chose you to shine through the suffering. And sometimes the only way to bring out the oil in your spirit is through the crushing. The olive must be pressed to release its richness. And likewise, your life, under pressure, under weight, under resistances, where God is drawing out a depth of strength, power, and purity that could never surface in comfort. What you call pain, God calls preparation. What you call struggle, God calls shaping. The question is not, why me? The question is, God, what are you building in me? And when you realize that God is not just interested in delivering you from trouble, but transforming you through it, everything changes. You stop complaining and start listening. You stop panicking and stop preparing. Because the fire doesn't just burn, it refines. The valley doesn't just humble, quips. The midnight hour isn't just dark, it's where God speaks with clarity to those who are still enough to hear. If your life feels like it's been flipped upside down, take heart. Sometimes God must tear down what's familiar in order to build what is divine. And I know this, some of you are not only carrying your own burdens, you're carrying the pain of others. You're interceding. You're covering your children, your spouse, your family with prayer. You're holding up others while you yourself are weary. But God sees that too. He sees the silent warriors, the ones who cry in private but lead in public, the ones who carry the weight of others without applause, without thanks. Let me declare to you today, your sacrifice is not invisible. Your faithfulness has not gone unnoticed. The God who watches in secret will reward you openly. And the miracles that are coming will not just touch you, they will overflow to the ones you've been praying for. Some of you have been through such deep rejection that it wounded your identity. It made you question your worth. But rejection is often redirection from God. He removes you from places that cannot contain the fullness of your calling. He separates you from relationships that cannot walk with you into your next season. He allows certain doors to close so that you will not settle for less than what He's destined for you. The hurt was real, yes, but so is the healing. And when God heals, He doesn't just patch wounds, He restores wholeness. He gives beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, strength for despair. And what was meant to destroy your confidence will now be the very testimony that releases boldness into others. Listen closely. Your trouble has a limit, but the power of God does not. The trouble you see today has an expiration date, but the glory God is preparing for your life is eternal. The enemy may have thought this season would shut you down. He hoped the trouble would break your spirit, but what he didn't realize is that every time you stood in faith, every time you refused to give up, every time you whispered, "God, I trust you," something in the invisible realm shifted. Something began to break. Because faith is not passive. It is a weapon that shakes strongholds, a force that invites the intervention of the Almighty. And here is a miracle in motion, right now. Even if you don't feel it, even if the natural looks unchanged, the spiritual is alive with activity. God is sending resources. God is assigning help. God is moving in the hearts of people you haven't even met yet. Divine appointments are being scheduled. Closed doors are being revisited. Broken areas are being rebuilt. But it will not come from where you expect, because God is not limited to what you can imagine. He brings water from a rock. He provides sustenance in a desert. He brings light in the midnight hour. He makes a way where there is no way. And the miracle God is preparing for you is not only for your survival, it is for your influence. When God lifts you out of trouble, He gives you authority. Authority to speak to others still stuck in the same darkness. Authority to break cycles. Authority to inspire, to lead, to heal. This miracle will not just bless your life, it will multiply beyond you. That's why the pressure has been so intense. Because the miracle is not small. The change is not shallow. What God is doing is generational. It is foundational. It is the beginning of a legacy that hell tried to destroy, but heaven refused to surrender. And now, hear me clearly. Sometimes the reason you're under attack is not because you're weak, because you're close to a turning point. The enemy does not fight people who are standing still. He doesn't waste his weapons on those going nowhere. He strikes hardest when you're about to break through. That pressure you're feeling, that intensity in your soul, that sense that something is shifting, it's because you're nearing the threshold where trouble transforms into testimony. The weight you're carrying isn't just pain. It's evidence that you are carrying something precious, something divine. And the more pressure that is applied, the more it reveals what was placed in you by God from the beginning. God never promised a life free from adversity, but He promised victory through it. Not comfort without battle, but triumph after struggle. And the purpose of your life is not to simply exist or survive. God has designed you to reflect His greatness, His mercy, His strength, and His ability to lift the low and bless the broken. This is why the enemy has targeted you, because he fears what God is about to do through you. And God, in His mercy, allows the fire not to burn you, but to remove everything that doesn't belong in the next chapter of your life. God doesn't just prepare the blessing for you, He prepares you for the blessing. That's why the process has been intense. That's why you felt stripped, shaken, misunderstood, because God is not in the business of giving premature elevation. He doesn't release miracles to those who haven't been molded to hold them. It is not the trouble that defines you. It's what you choose to believe about God in the middle of the trouble that defines your destiny. If you can lift your head in the darkest hour and still say, God is good. If you can stand in the wreckage and still declare, God will restore, then your heart is ready to carry what others could not survive. You have been made strong, not because you escaped trouble, but because you faced it, and you refuse to surrender your faith. Let me speak to the hidden ones, the overlooked, the undervalued, the underestimated. You have been praying in quiet places, planting seeds in secret, serving with no applause and no recognition. But God sees. And when God rewards, He does not do it in silence. When He lifts you up, it will happen in plain view of those who once ignored you, not to shame them, but to magnify His power, to raise those who stayed humble and faithful in the shadows. So do not grow discouraged if no one claps for you right now. Do not let your heart sink if no one recognizes your worth. God has already established your value, and what He has marked for promotion, no person can postpone. Sometimes trouble comes to teach you the voice of God. When there are too many voices, too much noise, too many distractions, God will allow a shaking so you learn to listen to Him alone. And once you can hear His whisper in the storm, you will never again be deceived by the shouting of the world. Trouble teaches clarity. Pain sharpens discernment. And in your deepest desperation, you'll find that God's presence becomes the only thing that satisfies. That's when transformation begins. That's when your identity becomes unshakable. No, based on achievement or approval, but anchored in the unchanging hand of God. And some of you are not just fighting for yourselves. You're breaking generational patterns. You're interrupting cycles of fear, failure, addiction, and limitation. The battle you are facing didn't start with you, but it will end with you. You're standing in a place your ancestors only dreamed of. You're praying prayers your lineage never knew how to pray. You are walking a path your bloodline has never walked before. And the resistance is real, because the breakthrough is generational. The miracle God is about to perform in your life is not just for your comfort, it's for your legacy. What begins in you will bless those who come after you. And that's why God is refining you so precisely, because He's not just changing your situation, He's shifting your lineage. There is no trouble so deep that God's mercy cannot reach it. No failure so severe that God's plan is canceled. No wound so hidden that God cannot heal. And no enemy so fierce that God cannot silence. His power is not limited by your past. His ability is not confined by your mistakes. He is the master of redemption. And what others throw away, God restores. What people discard, God reclaims. What seems lost, God resurrects with purpose. You may think it's over, but when God speaks into the ashes, beauty begins to rise. You may feel forgotten, but God remembers what others ignore. Even now, while you're in the middle of uncertainty, God is assigning angels to guard your path. He is orchestrating divine meetings. He is planting seeds of favor in the hearts of people you've never met. He is aligning time, place, and purpose in such a way that when the moment comes, it will feel sudden, but it will not be random. It will be the fulfillment of everything you've prayed for in silence. And when it happens, don't be surprised. Stand in reverence, because you'll know, without a doubt, this was the hand of God. You will look back at this season with gratitude, not because the trouble was easy, but because it taught you what nothing else could. You will realize that the breaking brought revelation. The silence brought sensitivity. The hardship unlocked hidden strength. And the wilderness showed you how to rely not on the world, but solely on God. This is why He allowed the road to be narrow. This is why the path was lonely, because where you are going, not everyone can come. And what God is placing in your hands requires purity, focus, and unwavering trust. And now I say to you, this is not just about what God will give you. It is about what God is doing inside you. We often ask God to change our circumstances, but He is more interested in changing us through those circumstances. You see, the true miracle is not always what happens around you. It's what happens within you. When you can stand in the fire and still praise. When you can walk through rejection and still remain kind. When you can lose everything but not lose your peace. That is a miracle of transformation. And that kind of transformation makes you unstoppable. That kind of change shakes the gates of darkness and releases heaven's favor into every room you enter. The greatest power God gives is not the removal of your trouble. That is the strength to rise above it, strength to endure, strength to forgive, strength to remain faithful when everything in you wants to run. And when God strengthens you, that strength does not fade with time. It becomes your armor. It becomes your weapon. It becomes your identity, because you have learned to draw not from the outside world, but from the eternal wellspring of God's presence within you. And from that place you no longer react to life. You rise above it. You no longer bend to the opinions of others. You stand firm in the truth God has written over your life. Let this sink deep into your spirit. When God is in control, nothing can spin out of control. You may not understand the timing. You may not see the full picture. But if God has His hand on your life, every twist and turn is leading somewhere purposeful. Even detours have divine direction, and even delays carry hidden gifts. Sometimes, what looks like a breakdown is just God rerouting you away from destruction and closer to destiny. And though you may cry in the moment, you will one day thank Him for every no, every closed door, every unanswered prayer, because you'll see it was not rejection, it was redirection. Don't be afraid of the process that strips you. When God allows certain things to fall away, it's not because He's taking from you. It's because He's protecting what's ahead. You can't carry old mindsets into new seasons. You can't drag old relationships into new levels. Some things must be removed so that what's holy, what's true, what's destined can remain. This is not loss. It is cleansing. And when the refining is done, you will rise lighter, sharper, and more aligned with the will of God than you've ever been. Some of you are still trying to make sense of past pain. You're still asking why certain things had to happen the way they did. But not all pain is meant to be explained. Some pain is meant to be transformed. And when God transforms pain, He doesn't erase it. He redeems it. He takes the very thing that broke you and uses it to lift someone else. He turns your scars into signs. Signs that healing is real, that survival is possible, that even when the world abandons you, God remains. He turns the memory of pain into the testimony of power. And in doing so, He gives you authority, not just to walk in freedom, but to set others free. Let me tell you what the world cannot offer you: peace in the middle of chaos, joy in the middle of sorrow, hope in the middle of uncertainty. These are gifts only God can give, and they are not based on external circumstances, as they are born from a deep, unshakable connection with the one who never changes. So don't chase what the world offers. Position yourself to receive what God provides, because what He gives, no man can steal. What He promises, no enemy can block. And what He declares over your life, no failure can cancel. Even now, as you listen, God is renewing your mind. He's lifting the fog of confusion. He's calming the storm in your heart, not by removing every problem, but by awakening your awareness of His presence. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. God is nearer to you now than you've ever realized. His eyes are upon you. His hand is guiding you. His wisdom is shaping you. And His mercy is carrying you. Even when you don't feel strong enough to stand, it is His strength that holds you upright. And if He's holding you, you cannot fall. You must learn to speak differently when you're in trouble. Not to echo fear, but to proclaim faith. Because words are not just sounds, they are seeds. What you declare in difficulty becomes your atmosphere. So speak with the authority God has given you. Say, this is not the end. Say, something greater is being born through this. Say, God is writing a better chapter. Don't wait for the miracle to start speaking victory. Speak it now. And you'll begin to see it take shape before your eyes. Because faith that speaks, even when it's trembling, is faith that moves mountains. Sometimes the greatest miracle is not what changes, but how you've changed in the process. How you've stopped chasing approval and started walking in confidence. How you've stopped living in fear and started living in peace. How you've stopped settling for less and started expecting more. Not from people, but from God. And once you've tasted that kind of faith, you can never go back to living like a victim. You are no longer defined by what you've been through. You are defined by the one who brought you through it. So don't be surprised if this season feels like everything is shifting. Don't be shocked if you feel disconnected from what used to satisfy you. That's not confusion, that's God growing you. He is calling you out of the familiar and into the unknown. Because your next chapter requires a new mindset. It requires a new level of surrender. It requires you to let go of comfort and step into calling. And that's where your miracle is. Not in what you can control, but in what you are willing to trust God with completely. And when it happens, when God completes the work He began in you, your mouth will be filled with awe. Your heart will overflow with worship, and your life will be living proof that God does not forget, God does not abandon, and God never fails. This is not just survival. This is the beginning of supernatural turnaround. Your trouble has been loud, but your testimony will be louder. Your pain was deep, but your purpose will be deeper. Your loss was real, but your restoration will be undeniable. And let me speak this truth into your spirit now. There is divine strategy in your suffering. God is not only allowing you to pass through the fire, He is using the fire to expose what cannot go with you into your next season. He is refining not just your surroundings, but your spirit. He is removing the pride that hides in success, the doubt that lives in delay, and the fear that lingers in uncertainty. When the heat intensifies, it is not a sign that you are forgotten. It is a signal that God is near, working in the hidden places, doing the deep work that surface blessings cannot accomplish. Many of you have cried out, "God, just take this pain away." But sometimes God does not take the pain away. He gives you power through the pain. He gives you wisdom in the struggle. He gives you discernment in the darkness, because what He is building in you is not weak faith, but warrior faith. The kind of faith that won't flinch when adversity strikes. The kind of faith that says, even if I don't understand it, I will still trust God. The kind of faith that does not bend to emotions or circumstances, but stands on the unshakable truth that God is always in control. You see, true faith is not proven on the mountaintop. It is proven in the valley. It is revealed in the midnight hours, when your prayers seem to echo into silence. It is forged in the hidden battles no one sees. And let me tell you, if you're still here, if you're still standing, if you're still listening, then God is not done with you. Your story is not over. The final chapter has not been written. What you think is a setback is actually God's setup. And what looked like a dead end is about to become a divine detour to something greater. God never allows warfare without weapons. For every season of affliction, there is a season of abundance. For every tear you've cried, there is a harvest of joy. Prepare for every door that closed. A better one is being carved by the hand of the Almighty. Don't be deceived by the silence. God is working even when you can't see Him. He is not limited by your understanding. He is not bound by human timelines. When He moves, it will be swift. It will be undeniable. And it will leave no question in your heart that this was God and God alone. Let the world mock your hope. Let them question your conviction. Let them misunderstand your journey. Because when the tables turn, and they will, those same voices will be silenced by the magnitude of what God does in your life. This is not the time to shrink back. This is not the season to give in to fear or frustration. It is the moment to lift your voice with authority and declare, no matter what it looks like, God is still sovereign, God is still faithful, and God is still turning my trouble into triumph. You may not see the miracle forming yet, but it's already in motion. In the unseen realm, God is shifting things in your favor. The things that once held you back are being broken. The people who abandoned you were necessary for the isolation that brought you closer to God. The delays were actually divine pauses, protecting you from what would have destroyed you. And the tears you've sown in silence, they are watering the very ground where your miracle will soon spring forth. What feels like emptiness is actually a sign that you are about to be filled in ways that only God could orchestrate. Let me remind you, God is not fragile. God is not distant. God is not unaware. He is the creator of time, the mover of mountains, the healer of the heart, and the sustainer of the soul. And when He lifts His hand over your life, Nothing in heaven or in earth can stop what He has planned. Trouble does not cancel the promise. Storms do not void His word. Darkness does not frighten Him. In fact, God does some of His best work in the dark. Because that's when you stop relying on your own vision and start depending on His voice. You don't need to see every step. Just obey the next one. You don't need to understand the process. Just trust the one who holds the blueprint. God is not asking for perfection. He's asking for surrender. Surrender of your timeline. Surrender of your logic. Surrender of your will. Because miracles are birthed in surrender. Not when you have all the answers, but when you have all your faith in the right place. And when you reach the point where your strength fails, that's where God steps in. With power that cannot be measured, favor that cannot be earned, and peace that passes all understanding. I want to speak directly to the soul that has been barely holding on. The one who smiles in front of others, but cries when no one's watching. God sees you, God hears you, and God is not late. Every delay has a divine purpose. Every silence has a sacred meaning. He is teaching you to walk by trust and not by sight. He is developing endurance in your heart so that when the blessing comes, it does not crush you, but carries you further than you ever dreamed. The preparation is hard because the blessing is heavy, and only a prepared vessel can hold it without breaking. Don't look at your life and define it by this moment of struggle. Define it by the hand of God that has never left you. Define it by the breath still in your lungs. Define it by the grace that kept you from falling apart when everything around you did. You are not just surviving, you are maturing. You are growing into the person God knew you could become all along. And every broken piece is being gathered by His hands and placed into position. Not to patch you up, but to elevate you into the exact place you were created to occupy. There's a reason you didn't quit, a reason you didn't collapse, a reason you kept pressing forward when everything told you to stop. It wasn't just resilience, it wasn't just inner strength, it was God holding you, it was God carrying you, and it was God whispering in the depth of your soul, "This is not the end." And indeed, it is not. The end is not despair. The end is not destruction. The end is restoration. The end is breakthrough. The end is glory. And the end will testify of the power of the one true God who never fails. And now, as I bring this word to a close, hear me with your whole heart. God has not brought you this far to leave you now. The same power that sustained you in the fire will lead you out of it. The same hand that held you in the storm is guiding you toward still waters. Trouble was never the end of your story. It was only the tunnel leading to a testimony that will shine with the light of God's glory. What once looked like defeat will soon be revealed as divine preparation. What the enemy intended for harm, God is already turning for your good. So do not surrender your hope. Do not release your faith. Stand steady and declare with courage in your spirit that your struggle is not a cage, it is a passage. Your pain is not punishment, it is a platform. And your story is not finished. God is still writing every chapter. You may have entered this season carrying heavy burdens, but you will leave it carrying blessings. You may have wept through the night, but joy is rising with the morning light. You may have wrestled with doubt, but now your spirit is lifting again in renewed faith. Move forward with your head held high and your heart anchored in trust. When God transforms trouble into a miracle, He does it so completely that no mark of defeat remains. only glory, only peace, only power. And when the miracle appears, the pain will no longer define the memory. You will look back and know that was the place where God formed you. That was the valley where His strength met you. That was the fire where His voice became clear. So hold on a little longer. Stay rooted in faith. Keep speaking victory over your life, because God is not only bringing you through, He is lifting you above. And your life will stand as undeniable proof that God turns trouble into miracles.